But it was hard supporting him. Honestly, I always knew about mental health and I believed in it. But living with somebody with mental health issues that aren't resolved, it's hard. And it's another like kind of responsibility, right? Like, okay.
Again, you're picking up the pieces.
I'm picking up the pieces while he's healing, which is really important because without him healing, nothing's going to get better. But at the same time, I have to look after myself. So I think I'm very grateful that this happened when we didn't have little kids.
Mm-hmm.
When our kids are more self-sufficient. And I do a lot of walking. I do, like, again, that fills my bucket, and I do that with one friend. Kind of being able to talk to somebody, but it's also nice that they know Tommy, because I don't talk about him in a really mean way. I'm trying to just be like, I'm struggling with this, but I've never wanted to talk shit about Tommy.
You don't disrespect him.
I've never ever wanted to do that.
Yeah, you need the opportunity to vent.
Yeah.
Like, venting is not disrespect. It's important. Like, you'd rather vent to your friend than blow up on that person. Hey, buddy.
Hey. It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon,
isn't it? It's a lovely. It is actually. It's very nice out.
It is. I did go for a 10-minute walk, and made me feel so much better. Get some.
What, you weren't feeling so good?
No, it was a little rough morning. How's your morning?
Same. I didn't go for a walk though.
You know what? I blame the time change.
I went outside for a dart. Does that count?
Yeah, sure. Get some fresh air.
Yeah, I got some fresh air in between not so fresh. Yeah, we went out last night.
Yeah, it was fun.
And had a really good time. If we're talking about mental health benefits, it was definitely good for my mental health.
Oh, it was just nice to
I was an 8 last night. Like
Yeah.
Oh,
it was just a nice evening of, just chatting, laughing, having some drinks.
Yeah.
It was good. Yeah.
It was tons of fun.
And overall I had a good day. I had a really shitty sleep Friday night.
Okay.
And I woke up at fucking 2 a.m. and then just
Oh, gross.
Okay, I'm staring at the ceiling, put on a movie and switched beds and, tried different things. No, up to 5:30 in the morning. So,
brutal.
But it was good because we didn't have much during the day, and then woke up and I wake up to my son making butter cookies. I'm like, oh, you son of a gun, So I tried a little bit,
Did you? Just a little?
Just a little, just the tip of the tongue. And I was like, oh, this is so good.
So now we're done the diet. The 30-day thing.
Yeah.
Are you still sticking with it? Or are you trying to stay in keto? And
so since the reset ended, so we're allowed to eat now vegetables and some berries and minimize the sugar
in moderation,
intake. So I think this last week I had 3 grapes.
Okay.
And had a couple strawberries.
Yeah.
As far as fruit goes. I've had tons of vegetables.
Staying away from bread though?
Oh yeah.
No bread, no pasta?
I had bread one day. I had 4 slices of bread because me and my wife went out to Thermia.
Ooh,
and
that's a cheat day.
It was definitely a cheat day. It was sourdough bread, so
yeah, it's still probably
carbs,
10 or 11 carbs a slice at least.
Yeah, but anything before and after, just keeping it clean. I went to my buddy's birthday, which was also very good for my mental health. We went snowmobiling.
Right. I forgot about that.
So I did have 1 hamburger with a bun.
Yeah.
And then the rest I had lettuce wraps, basically.
It is just better with the bun.
It is, but I actually really enjoyed it with 2 giant pieces of lettuce.
I tend to eat burgers, I'll make a bunch of burgers and then I'll just eat them on a plate. I'll just put stuff on it.
Yeah, exactly. It was just nice to be able to put the tomato, lettuce, onions on there and pickles. Yeah. Pickles are good too now, as long as you don't eat the sweet pickles.
If regular pickles are fine. They're actually you can eat a ton of them.
So, eating lots of broccoli, cauliflower, staying away from the carrots. I had a little bit of carrots, but if I'm going to put sugar in my body, I'm going to have going to try to have good sugar.
It sounds like you've kind of you're adding the right things back in and moderating and being good about it. That's awesome. Good
Friday I made myself fish with red cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, peppers, and onions.
Nice. That's great.
It was a fantastic meal. Yeah, and then a little bit of beets and sweet potato on the side, but again, limited that.
Sweet.
And
good for you.
Yeah, I'm just sticking to it, and the kids are eating that shit too now, so it's
Good.
like good. Like,
Well, and I mean, last night we ate 60,000 carbs. Probably.
yeah, last night was definitely
You went hard
true,
yesterday.
That was a true cheat day because
no shit.
we were gonna meet up, and I wasn't gonna cheat or anything. I was just gonna have some drinks, and we went to the King's Head, which right across from the King's Head there is Smoke's Poutineery. So if you're from Winnipeg, you know what Smoke's Poutineery is. You have like 20, 30 different kinds of poutines, and my son loves poutines.
I'm a little sad I didn't get to be there with him.
We'll have a chance to do it again. Yeah,
I know, but I wanted to be there.
Yeah. He was definitely he was loving it, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'm having a poutine too."
Yeah.
And then went to the King's Head, and I was like, "I'm having beers
Yeah.
now." And then, of course, like at 1 a.m. or whatever you decided to order it, is like, "Oh, let's get a bunch of McDonald's."
Yeah.
Yes, I'm in. I'm paying for it today.
I was shit-faced. I had to.
Yeah, I'm paying for it today for sure, but I think
I'm
not,
also benefiting from it.
not
today.
as sick as I would have been if I didn't have all those carbs.
So yeah, we picked.
But
kind
overall,
of
mental health was good.
I woke up this
yesterday.
morning and I just was so happy that we were going to record a podcast today.
Right? This is the best.
It's everything I wanted out of this day.
Well, and especially who our next guest is.
Yeah.
Like, you probably. I think I know what the first question you're gonna ask.
I've been stewing about it this morning.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna. No spoilers in the intro, but I've been stewing about it, like how to approach this conversation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is a brand new thing for us. We've never done this before.
Yeah, this is.
And so this could be a start.
We've talked about this.
We've talked about it since almost the beginning.
Yes, yeah.
But we've never done it. And so I don't know if this is the start of a different phase of our show where
Maybe.
we're going to be open to some other things.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. But I've been thinking about this morning, like, what's my role in this conversation today? Like, what's my job? I tend to be in charge of driving the interview when we do this, and you tend to be fascinated with the person's story and get really involved, which is amazing, and I love you for it.
I don't know if I'm going to be fascinated with our today's guest. I know today's guest very well.
You do know this person quite well, yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah.
But I'm excited. I think it's great. We've talked about it for like a year, and we're finally doing it, which is awesome, and it's going to lead to some other things, which I think is also great. So we'll bring in the guest, and
we'll do our check-in
everybody's
with the
gonna
guest,
find out.
and then
Well, I'm going to go ahead and let you introduce today's guest.
Oh God. Okay, so today's guest is a very dear friend of mine. What? She is a.
Are you guys friends? Do you call each other your
she's
friends?
a friend of mine, and you know what? Since we had Tyler on, I've referred to her to some of my friends as my teammate.
That makes sense.
Because it's she knows me
Team
inside and
captain,
out.
would probably be better,
Team
but-
captain. So
Organizer, manager, everything.
Oh,
So-
we're gonna get into that.
my absolutely wonderful wife, Adriana, is joining us today, and I feel like I'm going to be the target today.
No, nobody's a target. No one's a target.
No. But a little just side story, as you mentioned, Captain, one of our old friends, referred to my wife as the Tower. And because
I'm 4'11".
Yeah, she's 4'11", and she was the Tower. It's like, you need to ask for permission to land or take off. It's like, I gotta ask the Tower, can I go for beers?
It makes sense.
Absolutely.
Because you left to your own devices is, well, we just too many nights like yesterday.
Yeah, it would be catastrophic. So, but yeah, I have the pleasure of having my wife in the studio today, and we're gonna discuss a little bit of, I guess, female's perspective on someone that's dealing with mental struggles, and how it affects you, how it affects our relationship, and it would be just nice to get your take on it too, then instead of just mine. And
Yeah, I think like we said in the intro, like we've been talking about having our wives on for like a year, and you were aware of that, and like our partners, our teammates are such huge parts of our life, and like our mental health has a very dramatic effect on yours, and you have a very dramatic effect on ours, and like that's just how it works. And so it actually makes perfect sense that we should be talking to you, and my wife will be next.
Yeah. Well, and even last night we talked with our friend, the pool man, and you know, like he's in the process of, I'm not sure if I can say it, but like they're moving in, and we were saying like, yeah, like when you're dating, you kind of just, you get together when you
When you
both want to, right?
Yeah, you're dating.
And then,
it's
but
different.
once you live together, it's like, holy shit, like, why are you so miserable right now? Or, you know, like you're together when you're in a bad mood, when you're tired, when you're exhausted, and when you don't feel like cuddling, talking, or doing whatever. So, like, it's definitely an adjustment, right? And, like, we've been together now for, Jesus Christ, over 20
years.
20-something
Holy shit.
years. Yeah, we started dating in 2003. And so it's
That's a long time.
That is a long time.
a lifetime.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah,
you're
it is.
still together, so like there's a lot to learn here. Like there is a ton we can learn, and our
and
listeners can learn
and
from.
we had
it.
ups and downs in the relationship, so it's
I would assume.
yeah,
everybody
like,
does.
like, and it hasn't been easy, and there was times, and I'm pretty sure we've talked about this, but there was times where like I forced the I love yous and the hugs because it was just like we became roommates at some point, and you know, but
that's the worst.
it is. But we pushed through, and you know, I think we're doing better than before. So
Yep.
yeah, we learned a lot about each other. But before we dig in, let's do a check-in.
Sure. Tommy?
Well, like I guess we mentioned in our intro that I'm feeling great today. it was fun night last night. I had a really good week overall too. It was Adriana's birthday, and
Happy belated.
and we did lots of like family things, couple things, and they went to Thermia, so like our hardest job was to go from one pool to another one, into the
Sounds
sauna,
tough.
into the steam room, put the robe on, take the robe off. Like, oh my god, it was just
That sounds
so
stressful.
hard. Yeah. So no, it was wonderful. We had dinner there. It was really nice dinner, and just overall, like I think much needed relaxation for both of us. And on her actual birthday, I picked up my son from school and went to surprise her at work with some flowers and Timbits. And then I had a couple busy days, which was really nice for me to kind of experience going back to like the busy routines. And it was a little bit overwhelming. But meanwhile, I had a therapy session, so that was nice. Again, made a few things clear for myself. And then, you know, Friday played hockey. Yesterday we hung out a little bit, and we kind of last of the birthday party. We went to an escape room together, and then we had drinks. So I'm feeling about a 7 today.
Nice.
Like overall, going from the whole week. Yeah.
Nice. Good.
Yourself?
I think physically today,
Yeah, well,
not great, but
no, self-inflicted.
Yeah, that's self-inflicted, so that doesn't even apply. I actually feel pretty good. Like I told you maybe in the intro before, but like I think last night I was like an 8,
which is very unusual for you.
Yeah, and I think today I actually like my mind and my heart feels really good. And so maybe it's that I had a half a whiskey here, but like no, I feel really good. I'm going through a lot of changes, and I'm going to talk about some of those in future episodes.
Yeah.
I can't right now, but I'm going through some big changes, and so some of those things became a little clearer this week, and I got some more guidance on it, and so I feel like my shoulders fell about 2,000 feet because I just like have been so tense about it, and so that's really exciting.
Yeah,
for me.
you've been holding it in, right?
Yeah.
and so now it's nice to finally
to make some progress towards the end game here, and like so I'll talk about that in a different episode later, but I actually feel really good.
Yeah, good. Awesome.
So I'm like I think I'm still an 8.
Okay, wow, good.
Fucking
wow,
weird.
I think this is the first time that you've been an 8 on the show.
I think maybe.
Yeah, I don't think you went higher from 7.
No. How about you?
I would also say a 7. A lot of it would have to do with what Tommy said, that how we celebrated my birthday, because I'm not about big crowds or big parties. So to actually have, like, I think we did 4 different things for my birthday, but they were more suited to me because it was smaller numbers of people and not something that lasted 5-6 hours, because my social battery goes like, just gets drained right away. And the only reason it's not higher than a 7 is because it's busy at work, and it's not a bad thing. It's just it's a very hectic time of the year, so that's the only thing that's keeping it like below an 8 or 9.
Okay.
But with what we did together, and with, I think we also play off of one another, right? So it's hard for me to have a 7, be at a 7 or 8 if he's at a 3 or a 4.
True. That's a
And then
really good
vice
point.
versa.
Yeah.
So he's feeling well, which means that we're, experiencing that.
High.
Yeah, and we're, I'm getting the hugs and the kisses and and the touch, right? So that boosts me up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are.
Is touch, like people talk about love languages? Is touch one of yours? Is that a thing?
That's huge for me. I don't think
Rachel's the same.
Yeah.
Like touch is a huge deal, and the problem is that when I'm a 4 or 5, I don't want to touch anybody, and I don't want anyone touching me, and so that's something we've had to figure out because she needs that.
Yeah, I don't think I could do a long distance relationship. Like, even no matter how strong my love would be, I think that's just it's key. It's essential for me.
100%,
Yeah. But only when I want it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not the cuddler, really.
Oh, we're definitely
Cuddling, can we just be done with cuddling?
Like, we tried like a couple
In the
times,
world, like it's over.
and our cuddle is like a minute.
Yeah.
It's like
It's too hot. I'm
Good-
uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
It's hot. It's not fun.
Yeah. No,
I'm
it's
boycotting cuddling. It's never happening.
We definitely
again.
we're one of those couples like, okay, good night, and we turn our backs to
Yeah,
each other.
that's what we do. Well, and it's too hot. It's too hot. It's
But yeah,
uncomfortable. It's get your face out of my face. I don't want someone's face.
Don't
that close.
breathe on me.
I love you. So get the fuck out of my face. Like,
Yeah, exactly. So okay, well, awesome. Thanks for checking in.
okay.
Ooh, let's do
I was
this.
thinking on the way here a little bit about how to handle this episode. And we just decided yesterday we were going to do this, so we didn't have a lot of prep time.
No, which is,
Which is fine. We don't do that always
never prep,
anyways.
really.
Yeah. So I was trying to think, like, am I interviewing you guys or what's happening here? Now, our show is generally just a conversation. I have some questions I want to ask to kind of start things.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do that. But, like,
Well, I think
I'm not interviewing both of you. We're having a conversation.
Yeah, I think
but
we
I have
can
things I
say
want to
that
ask.
we're an open book. Like I know I'm very comfortable sharing. I've shared struggles and shared like the bad times as well, and because we can always learn from it, right? And maybe somebody is going through or went through that and they don't have the answers, and maybe this might help them find the answers. So like I think you as well are comfortable.
Yep.
Talking about it.
And if I don't want to answer something, I won't.
Yeah,
so.
perfect.
exactly.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Easy.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, but first and foremost, I want to hear Adriana's version of how you guys met.
We met back in the country that we both grew up in, and through like mutual friends, and alcohol was involved. Like, without alcohol, it wouldn't have happened. There's no way.
For who? For you or for him?
No, me
Okay.
having alcohol.
I fell in love with her because she was drinking a lot, and then we got together. She stopped.
I was a partier, but we met at the end of my partying kind of era, and he didn't know that.
Yeah.
Did you know it at the time that that was coming to an end or no?
No,
Okay.
I didn't.
No, it wasn't.
But yeah, so we just met through mutual friends, and alcohol got involved. And I always say, I think I've said this a few times anyways, that you're my best stupid decision.
Yeah.
Because it was not
That sounds
done
great.
during sobriety. Like, it was nothing. And it was just, looking back, it's like, oh my God, what was I doing, right? Like, if I think of our daughter in the same place, I'd be like, nuh-uh.
Yeah.
But here we are. It turned out great. So
How hard, and I don't think I ever asked you this, but how hard was it for you to tell your parents that, hey, I'm bringing a guy home?
it wasn't hard. I don't know. I don't know why, but I guess the hardest thing was to convince them to kind of allow you to come to Canada, right?
So I guess a little backstory. I'm not sure if I mentioned, but Adriana is from the same country. She's from Slovakia as well. We actually come from the same town, but you moved here when you were 9, 10, right? And then you took a year off from university and spent a year in Slovakia with your grandparents, and that's when we met. And then you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you were already here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I was just there I was there because I had broken up with a boyfriend I had on and off for years, and I was like, this is it. I'm going to Slovakia. I'm going to Europe. I'm going to have a fun time. And maybe I'll have a little European fling.
Okay.
and this guy didn't leave.
I always say that she brought me back as a souvenir. Yeah.
He sticks to you. He
Oh,
gets
yeah.
he gets in there.
I
Yeah.
don't
I
know.
sweat a lot. I'm stinky. Okay.
Gross. But yeah, but I don't know why. I don't know. I don't remember it being hard asking my parents, but I think it was because, and you kind of alluded to that, when you're dating and when you're like in love, everything looks like it's all rose-colored glasses.
Yeah.
So I was like, of course this is gonna work out, right? And
Yeah.
I was also younger when you're not quite aware of like all the things that can go wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, you're more ignorant to the
Yep.
reality, which is maybe helps it happen.
Yep.
Like without that, it might not ever happen.
Yeah,
I think so,
exactly.
because I'm not a spontaneous person, at least not now. In my 40s or in my 30s, I wasn't, but in my 20s, I was a little bit more. So
Yeah.
that's how these things happen.
Yeah.
So
So how long? So you guys met drunk, obviously, spent some time together.
Yeah.
When did you like? How long after that did you brought him to Canada?
So that was
So
about
like things
December.
must have gotten serious pretty quick.
So we kind of hooked up in December, and then actually, so we hooked up, and then, but then nothing really happened. And then 2 weeks later, we met at the bar again, and you were completely sober actually that time.
I know, it's so weird.
And I was
that I
really,
still did what I did.
and I was really drunk, but we hung out all night and kind of, leaned in for the kiss, and she didn't push me away. And then we met the next day where we chatted, and then she's like, oh yeah, on Monday, this was a Saturday, and then she's like, on Monday, I'm going back to Canada for a month. I'm like, well, fuck, And then, but it was kind of nice because like we chatted through emails, and we kind of got to know each other a little bit, and then you came back and we had a big party, and that's when I found out that this is the one. She's the one, yeah, because like we had to call the ambulance. She was so drunk, like almost
really?
alcohol poisoning. Like it was hilarious.
This is all so.
Now it's funny.
Like I look at you and I'm like, are you sure that's like you?
That's not the me you know.
I've just
is
never.
it?
That's
Yeah.
not that's not the you that I know. No.
But you know what? At the end of the day, it was like she made me feel really great, like nobody else did before. Like I and again, it's not like I've dated like hundreds of women, but like I've had girlfriends and everything, but like I just felt really good with Adriana. Like I was like, this is like she's smart. She's not that dumb. And I'm not saying that I dated dumb girls, but like I dated younger girls than me, and Adriana is older from me, so I really. Like I always had good relationship with like actually older women, like your friends from my hometown. Like we were really good friends with them.
Is that your mommy issues coming out?
No, and like I mean, I was in grade 5 and I was hanging out with like grade 12 girls. Like like shithead waltzed into the classroom. I was like, hey girls, what's up? Like. And but
I'm starting to see why Jacob's the way he is.
And so like I really enjoyed her company, and we've done some traveling in Slovakia and to France, and it was really nice and fun, and then she popped the question like, do you want to move to Canada? I'm like, hell yeah. And she's like, oh shit, okay.
So you guys like you were serious at that point. Or to an extent. Obviously, you're inviting him to Canada.
Yeah, I think everything just felt natural. Like it was just, okay, because then we wouldn't have stayed together. And I probably knew that without thinking about it too consciously. But that importance of touch, it wouldn't have worked as a long distance. We would have maybe tried and then, okay, whatever, forget
and
it,
she
right?
knew that I'm going back to Canada.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was just finishing high school, and I'm like, I've applied for universities outside of my like I wanted to move away from my hometown.
Okay.
And I was just like, hell, like this is, I wasn't tied down to anything really, and I was like, let's do it. And like, so I applied for a school here, and without going into too much detail because I want to move on, but I had a return ticket, so if it doesn't work out. I'm coming back and just see what happens.
Yeah.
But it worked out. And we're
Clearly.
still here. We're still here.
20 years later.
Yeah, 22
20
almost.
plus, yeah.
Okay, so you moved here. Eventually, you guys got married.
Yeah.
You did the thing. You bought a house. You have 2 amazing children.
Yep.
Like unbelievable. And I don't know. I don't think that's you, but
Definitely not. Yeah. That's all her.
so I guess we can everything worked. Like the story is great. Now things change when you have kids. So you guys had been together for how long before you had kids?
not too long. Like moved here in 2004.
So
And
5 years,
we
6
got
years?
married in
Okay.
2008, and daughter was born in 2009.
Okay.
Yeah.
Planned?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very much so,
Everything was
yeah.
planned. Yeah. We wanted. You know what? I always say this. I love being a young dad. Like it's a lot of people don't want to have kids early because in my 20s I want to party. Now, luckily, your parents helped us out amazingly. Like
She was sleeping there like at 3 months old. She was
Oh,
sleeping
yeah.
over on the weekends, which means we
Oh,
did
wow,
get
really?
to enjoy ourselves, right? We didn't have that time when it was just us being parents.
Like in our culture,
Is that a Slovakia?
yeah.
Is that a cultural thing?
It's a normal thing
Huge.
that grandparents are involved with raising your kids
Okay.
because that way you can work, you can
Takes a
do your
village,
thing. Yeah,
like-
exactly. Yeah.
And it really
Yeah.
does. Like
And so-
without my parents and Rachel's parents, like we just have one kid, and like it would be really fucking hard.
Yeah, yeah.
I know people who have like kids and have no family support, and it's like their life is tough.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. So we've had that support. So we did. I enjoyed my 20s very much so to the fullest. And there's absolutely no regrets. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. And and then as kids get older, activities start and like life gets busier, and that's when we were kind of, like I mentioned, that we kind of became roommates. And
Yeah, so that seems to be a common thing. Like when you're raising kids, the effort of both parents tends to go, if you're good parents, tends to go to the kids, and you tend to lose
kind
each
of
other.
you forget
Right.
about
Right.
it.
Did
Yeah.
that you guys have been through that?
Yeah.
So you want to talk to me about that a little bit? Like I've only been involved with Autumn for 5 years, and so like but I see it.
Yeah.
I see like how easy it is to become roommates.
Yeah.
Like that can happen so fucking fast. And like, I guess talk to me a little bit about like being roommates and how much that sucked and what got you out of it. I think the most important thing is like you aren't roommates, and so what did you do to change that?
Yeah. So
Honestly, just grit and like sticking through it. It's like a team having like a sports team having a bad season and not giving up, and just knowing that this shall pass, right?
oh, I love that. Yeah. This shall
And I think in my
pass. I think something.
Yeah. In my mind, I ask myself this fairly often. Anytime I kind of need to reflect, I ask myself, like, do I want to be with somebody else? And I don't ask myself that when things are going well. Why would I, right?
Yeah.
But when I'm not feeling fulfilled for whatever reason, or we're going through a rough patch, which is, again, normal, I ask myself, like, do I want anybody else? Am I interested in anybody else? And the answer is always no. Because if the answer was yes, then it'd be like, okay, wow, this is a different path, right?
Yeah.
But then it's like, okay, so I'm not looking for somebody else. I still want to work on this relationship. And then it's like, and then we start talking. I feel like that's when we have those talks, right?
Yeah.
And I tell you,
Well, now,
yeah,
before we didn't.
yeah,
It was, I think, before we had lots of those conversations in our heads with
Maybe,
ourselves.
yeah.
And, there's different factors. I had to work evenings, midnights. I started sleeping in the basement because during the day, like, neighbors cutting the grass, or in the winter, there's snow blowing or whatever.
Yeah.
I was getting shitty sleep. So, like, I moved down to the basement, and, like, we started growing apart a little bit, but we never really talked about it. We just kind of like, okay, this is our life now. And
Well, it just kind of happens.
yeah.
Like it,
It
slips
happens.
pretty quick.
it sneaks up on
Yeah, it
you.
does.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
like next thing you know, like you're, holy shit, like we haven't really talked, for a week or something, just
Yeah.
other than okay, you're going here, you're doing this, but like actually sit down and have a conversation as a couple. Like we might have gone even for months. I can't remember now, but like,
So what did you do during, like, so you said, okay, I don't want to be with somebody else. So obviously we're going to figure this out. How do you start that process?
I don't.
Or how have you guys historically started
honestly,
that process?
sometimes it was screaming matches
Yeah.
Okay.
and being mean to one another. And then other times it was reconnecting over something silly, whether it was a movie that we watched or an activity that we decided to do together. We're like, oh yeah, this is the you that I love, right?
yeah,
So we did those bad things because we weren't mature enough. We hadn't yet discovered, like, oh, wait a minute, we maybe shouldn't be talking to each other like this, or this is
Yeah.
counterproductive. But I think that's okay. We went through it, like, whatever, it happens. But I think we tried a whole bunch of different things
yeah,
but something kept us going, because it would have been on several instances, probably easier just to be like, we're done. See you later. But even maybe if we ever got to that point, then kind of maybe our logical minds clicked in and we're like, wait a minute, who would live where? How would this all work? And but it makes you pause long enough to be like, wait, is that like, what's that going to solve? Or are we...
It should give pause long enough to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely, like, it just kind of gives you that, that time to really process it, because those are conversations that somebody would have, or like those are the questions you would ask yourself if you split. Okay, who's moving out? Who's keeping the house? Who's getting what? And the kids, and like, if we didn't have kids, I think it would be easier to move on. But with the kids, it's a big thing.
I don't know if we'd be together if it wasn't for the kids. And thank God it's not, and we're not together because of them. But that gave us a reason to pause and to think clearly, and not to make a decision when you're angry and you feel like you've been mistreated and taken for granted. Like, it's so easy just to say, see you later. Like, I'm worth more. But
and so for us, like, COVID was a big factor for me.
Okay.
Like, that's when, my social butterfly could not spread its wings, and I was just like cooped up here, whereas you were very comfortable because, like, okay, well, I don't need to see people. Great.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah. And
it didn't change my life all that much.
And so,
but you're fairly sociable. Like, you're...
When I choose to, with who I choose to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So you manage that pretty carefully for yourself.
Yeah.
Now, do you help her manage that, or do you just make it worse?
Do I? I don't know. I mean,
a little bit of both.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have the fun life we have. And this has not been happening as much recently as you've been working through stuff, right? And as we're busy. But Tommy brought the fun into our lives, like not just mine, not just my our marriage, but also for our family activities. Like, he's the one who still sometimes says, like, let's do something spontaneous, and then it ends up working out. So like, it depends. And he's also pretty good at, if I want to back out of a social event, I make it pretty obvious, and he's pretty good. Like, sometimes he'll say, oh, I'm disappointed, but like, I never feel like you've pushed me to do it.
Like there's times where I think you need to be pushed to do the social thing, but then it's like, no, you know what, this is enough, and I need to learn to back off and be like, okay, we're leaving now, because
it's a pretty good
she had
balance.
enough.
I think for me sometimes too that happens with Rach, because I think Rach and you are similar in that sense. Your social battery only lasts for so long, and like you're pretty careful about how you use it.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm more like Tommy, where I just like, what do you mean you can't go out 6 days a week? And so I've learned to be careful with hers, and it's like we have a mutual respect, and it's like, no, I need you to come to this thing. And then it's like, okay, then she has time to prep herself for it. She gets into it. Like, even last night as an example, like, Rachel's been tired. She's feeling not great again, and we're working on that. But like, I was like, what do you want to do tonight? Because Saturday nights we usually do something. And she's like, I don't know. Do you want to go out? Like, I'm like, yeah, I could for sure go out. She's like, I think I could go out for a bit. I'm like, okay. So we went to the King's Head and had some drinks. And then she just told me, like, I think I have to go home soon. And I was like, cool. Like, we'll finish our drinks. People can, like, I just said, do you care if people come back to the house? And she said, no, I just need to go home and like shut down. And I was like, cool. And that's what we did. Yeah. And so like, but it takes 100 of those situations before you start to figure it out.
For sure.
I used to try and drag her to everything all the time, and like, just because I want her there. But not thinking, like, selfishly I wanted her there.
Yourself, but
I love being out and having fun, and I think like, well, I want my wife there. Like, you're my partner, you're my person. Like, come with me. And it's like, oh no, this is actually just going to make it worse. Like,
and you know what? We used to do a lot more together, even in our 20s, right? When we were first together. But I think with age, and maybe for me, it's with hormones as well, right? Like, after having kids, I realized I couldn't do it anymore. Like, we had bonfires all the time and played Guitar Hero or whatever, right? With people in our basement. But yeah, like, when you last long in a relationship, it's like you start changing, right? And you have to still be in love with that person that they're becoming, right? And I think that was maybe a big struggle for us, because you haven't changed too much. You're still would love to, if you could. I think you'd love to just have fun all the time and just kind of try new experiences all the time. being grounded,
Yes,
but having
yes
something
and
to
no,
come
yeah,
home to.
But there's actually recently I had a few things where I'm like, man, I really don't want to be here. I just want to be at home and like do nothing.
Well, I mean, you are almost 40, so yeah, that's
almost.
It does start to change, but I
Yeah.
do think also women change.
Yeah,
I think children change everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For women
Yeah.
more than men.
yeah.
I was gonna say, like, I think that's for you too. It's like, well, okay, we can be up late and have fun, and who's gonna get up in the morning to Dad's not gonna get
Well, and
up.
it's never me. Like,
So
Yeah.
it's a mama
Yeah.
bear thing too.
So
That you're just like thinking ahead, like, okay, like I need to be functional tomorrow because we have these things or whatever, and it's almost like an instinct for you that kicks in,
Right.
and it's like, you know what, and you're okay. Like, I'd rather just step back, go home, get my rest, and which I really appreciate because you let me, you know, go have fun and sleep in, and so it's like you step it up when I need that break, and I hope I hope to do the same.
I guess the next question is, does he step it up when you need the break?
I think this is what we talk about the most
Yeah.
because I don't feel like he does do
Okay.
that enough.
Yeah.
Now, he does it when he's feeling well.
Mm.
And that's another reason why I know that I don't want out of this relationship. That's another thing that keeps me focused on us and keeps me going, right? Because I know when he's feeling well, he is there for me. I also am a little bit stubborn, so I also like things done a certain way, right? So that's important
Yeah.
for me to let go of that as well. But when he's feeling well, he does a lot. It's when he's feeling down that I feel like I don't have a partner.
Yeah.
That's like the more recent stuff, right? As we talk about
Yeah, and
being
that was
partners.
there in the past too,
Yeah.
and so I just wanted to bring it up that like when like the COVID happened, like we went through probably our roughest patch, and
Yeah.
we seen a marriage counselor, and which is the same counselor that I'm seeing right now personally. And
That's good.
And you know what? I like it because he digs deep. Like, we would sit down during the therapy, like, so how are you guys doing? We're like, good. Okay. How are you really doing? You know? And
Yeah.
like, and he would do things like look at each other, like grab her hand and tell her how you feel. And then I would say something like, tell her really how you feel. Like, he could pick up on the bullshit that you're
Yeah.
saying, you know. So it was really good, and it came down to that we were not communicating, and that was a big learning curve for me. It was something new that we haven't really communicated our struggles. We talked about like, oh, I'm not feeling it, blah blah blah, but like we really, you know,
Or
didn't.
like would blame each other. Well,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is it's not working today because you did this or you did
Yeah.
this, and both of
Okay.
us would do that. It's
Yeah.
not like
Yeah.
you're the bad guy. Like I can give it as hard
Oh
as
yeah,
I
and
get it. So.
instead of now we learned that like, you know, there's times where we just like, hey, this is bothering me, but we can't talk about it right now because it's not gonna go anywhere. Just like on Thursday.
As recent as
Yeah,
Thursday.
yeah.
Okay.
But huge progress because before
I
one
would
of us
keep- we would
one of
keep
us would
pushing
not
it,
have
yeah.
been able to let it go. One of us would have like kept on pushing the other person until one of us would
Oh, okay.
explode. And it's like, what's the point of it?
Yeah.
And later on, when you finally make up, it's like, well, that's stupid. What the heck were we actually
Yeah.
talking about? So it took us, I don't know, maybe we're slow learners, but it took us a long time to get there.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's different because in that moment, I kept my mouth shut 2 days ago.
You
I was
did,
like,
yeah.
I said, this isn't
I
gonna
wanted
happen.
to keep going, but then I realized like she's like, this is not what I wanted to do.
Is it because you want immediate resolution?
Yes, yeah.
And you can be more patient, or you're learning to be more
Or
patient?
vice versa. I think it's just
Like,
I-
I'm sure your patience level and tolerance is way higher than his. Like, that's probably very
you,
clear.
You
For
rise
sure.
like you're.
yeah.
Me and Rach are the opposite. Like, I'm very patient, and she's wants immediate resolution
Yeah.
and wants to keep pushing the conversation. It's like, no, I
No,
don't.
it depends. I think by this point, what I found, at least Thursday, and again, it's probably because I was feeling okay. Because if you had combined him feeling pissy and me ready for a fight,
Yeah.
let's say it was PMS or something, this could have ended way differently,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I was just like, I could already see this. This is what's going to happen if I actually feed into what he wants me to do. We're going to
Yeah.
get in a huge fight over nothing, and I'm not going to be able to sleep because I'll be upset. Like, so I just told myself, my needs right now to tell Tommy exactly what he did wrong, according to me,
Yep.
is not
Yeah.
is not worth the fight.
Yeah.
And then I ended up telling him anyways on in a really nice way yesterday when
we
went for a walk and he invited the conversation. I was like, this is growth. He's like, so what do you want? Is this a good time to talk? I'm like, oh my gosh, you actually want to hear what I have to say.
And you know, we were both calm. We were both in a good mood. Yeah. We were outside, you know, getting fresh oxygen, and it was just a nice conversation. And I accepted. Like, I accepted right off the bat that, I know I screwed up, but, like, it was just nice to hear her point of view without me already thinking about the answer, you know?
Yeah.
And just really listen. And that's a big thing that came out of our counseling is that communication has really evolved and still evolving every day. And I know listening to me is the hardest part. Because I tend to like, okay, well, what do I need to say to get my point across? And then I stop listening and, oh shit, what did she say? She said something bad about me, you know, like, and
But he used to like Tommy would storm out of the house, slam doors. He would leave, and leave for hours. I had no idea where he was. He would leave angry, and like a little bit, like. It made me afraid for him. Not that he was going to take his own life or anything like that, but like, is he stable enough to drive? Like, he would be so angry. He was so volatile, and I haven't seen that for years. So he's been doing, like, I don't know if you feel this, but you've been doing the work for years now, right? Yeah. And seeing him do that, because that also shows that he cares about me and what I need too from him, because he could just stay that person, right? Like. It made really, I mean, I suppose it didn't make you happy, but it really was me that was really upset by those things, right? So you've been working on yourself to ensure that our marriage withstands just regular life issues, right? And so your reactions are so much just calmer.
And again, like, you have also like evolved greatly because, you know, you understand that I need to get out the house, need to go do, you know, stupid things with my friends, or just play sponge hockey, play hockey, go for drinks, go to a concert. Like, these are things that are good for my brain, my mental health. And I think that at one point you were like, well, he shouldn't need to go do these things. Maybe, I don't know, but I know, like, if we plan ahead and we talk about it, and there's nothing more important that we need to do, then it's really nice to see that support where, like, go have fun. Like,
so I guess, like, how do you find that balance? Because it's great for you to be, and I'm not attacking you, it's great for you to play hockey and sponge hockey and go for drinks and get drunk and record this podcast and all those things. Like, that is good for you. But there's got to be a point to where it's no longer good for the rest of you, like you and your kids. Yeah. And so, have you guys? I'm sure balance is something that you talk about, or do you like? There's probably some things that are great for you that, like, maybe there's missed opportunities sometimes, because how do you balance that? I guess is what I'm mostly asking.
Like, from my perspective, that's an ongoing thing. We haven't we haven't quite found the balance, but I think the biggest lesson for me was, like Tommy said, is that I used to try to fight it because I would try to be like equal. Like, oh, well, if you're spending 5 hours a week with your friends, then you should be spending at least 5 hours a week with us. And that doesn't mean just you sitting on the couch recovering from fun, right? Like, that doesn't count.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So I would like quantify it, right, by trying to make it equal. But it's like, no, that's not how it works. It still is. That is, I guess, the thing that we talk about the most is that, hey, like, you say that we're number one, like, I'm number one and the kids are number one, like, prove it, right? So I don't think we've quite arrived at that. So
no.
And I hope we do, though, because to me, it's not just for me, because like I said, I can be pushy when I want to, but for my kids, the ages that they're at, where both of them are listening, and the daughter has been listening and observing forever now, right? But how do we show them how to have a healthy relationship where both people, again, you're not going to be equal, but both people are being treated well, I suppose, getting their needs met, but also not expecting perfection from that other person, right?
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
It's well, and I don't mind if Autumn hears us fight.
Yeah.
Because she also hears us make up.
Yeah.
Maybe not the other part of making up, but but she hears us make up, and like that's an important life lesson that she hears both of those. And so like, do your kids hear you guys get in arguments? Probably. Do they also hear you resolve those arguments and hug and kiss and be affectionate after when you kind of get over it? Yeah, probably. And like, that's a good that's balance.
Oh, it is. And I know
life's
like
not peachy and perfect.
When I had those anger issues, like like I was nasty, and I think our daughter has it scarred her a little bit, because after a while, when we started, just had like an argument, but like it wasn't loud or anything, but it was exchange of words, and it got little bit heated, and she was kind of, I think she might have been like maybe 4, 5, 6. And she'd be like, "Oh, the guys don't fight," you know, like, because she
got scared anytime there was just elevation of volume.
Then it's gonna get to that point again where I lose my shit, and like that was like when I don't remember exactly which time it was, but like I remember like having a conversation with Adriana, saying that like, hey, like our daughter is scared that you're gonna lose your shit again, and like she can't be grown up knowing that it's okay for a man to get loud and not violent, but it has that violent image, you know, that
aggressive. You were using your body size and your voice to control and to have power, right? Yep. And that's what was scary for me, is for number one, for my daughter, I never want her to feel powerless against a stronger just human. And then also for my son, it's like, whoa, this is also not okay to treat a woman this way. Like, learn how to fight, but fairly kindly, right? Like with love.
Well, with love, like you still love each other.
Exactly. And so remember we had that conversation, and that was a big realization, and like, okay, I need to do something about it, and you know, like I told you, and I told my therapist, but there's that little but a dent in our drywall, and I liked looking at it as a reminder of like, this is the person I don't want to be. Yep. You know, because I used to punch walls. I never hit you or the kids, but I mean, the kids got some spanking, you know, but they deserved it. They deserved that one. No, but and I body slammed my daughter against the floor. I missed the teddy bear. That was an accident.
Accidents don't count.
Yeah. No, but it's a good reminder that this is a person I didn't like, my wife didn't like, and my kids didn't like. So it's I'm happy that that's over. And can I lose my shit? Absolutely, yeah, but not to that level where I would be punching walls or and now we've learned to communicate, and like, okay, I need to back up, step away, just go outside, go to the garage, go to the backyard, just go for a quick walk, take a minute, think about it, and then, you know, clear things up, and I think our recovery time is a lot better now that we can listen and talk to each other. I mean, after 20 years, you'd figure that we figure something out, right?
But like Adriana said,
still working.
But like Adriana said, like, people keep changing.
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
Like you're constantly figuring out, because you're constantly changing.
It's not like, this is it, and that's
as an
it
individual,
now,
and like, therefore your relationship, I guess, has to change as well.
I think it's evolution of the relationship. That's how we evolve as a couple, right? Yeah. As parents, as a couple, and as individuals as well.
And like finding ourselves again, and maybe, I don't know, I won't speak for you, but I found I lost myself. Like, I think I'm just now, and they say this happens in the 40s, so maybe that's good, but I'm just finding myself again, because so much of my time was taken up just being a mother and a wife too, but mostly mother.
Mostly
right?
a mother. Yeah. That's a huge weight.
It is.
And I am the devoted mom. I know that, and I like that, and I would never change it. Going back, I think I would still do what I did, the same thing. But now it's like, okay, my kids don't need me as much, or at least not as like minute by minute, right? When you're watching a toddler, to make sure they don't fall down or whatever. Now it's like they need me in a different way, and it gives me more time. And I think that was also part of it for me. Like, okay, who am I? And the things that I liked in my 20s or whatever, do I still like those? Do those still work for me, right? And so who am I as a person, so that then I can be happy with myself, so that then I can be a good wife and a good mom, right? And that's still happening within me too. So
you gonna do Booze Hound Adriana reunion tour? Is that what's happening in the 40s?
I hope so.
I am so
I don't think
scared.
I'm ready. I don't think I'm ready for it.
That's funny. Let's take a 5-minute break.
People appreciate the fact that you're genuine and authentic. Just be yourself. Like I complimented Justin Lamuda from Rainy Day Forge. He put his YouTube video out, and I've seen every other video he's done, but this one was different. And I reached out to him, and then when he answered, he said that he was just being himself.
Guys, listen up. You know what makes life better? Great knives. But not just any knives, custom knives. Need a knife that'll handle your outdoor adventures? Or a kitchen knife sharp enough to make you feel like a pro? Check out Rainy Day Forge. Crafted right here in Winnipeg. Get yours today at rainydayforge.ca.
It's captivating. Why? Because he's being himself. There we go.
This show is brought to you by our new sponsor, Stoke Screen Printing. Are you looking to make a statement with custom clothing? Stoke Screen Printing is Winnipeg's go-to print shop, and they will bring your vision to life. Whether you need bold screen printing or crisp digital prints or high-quality embroidery or even eye-catching stickers, they've got you covered. Their friendly, knowledgeable staff will walk you through the process and ensure top-tier results with great turnaround times. Now, whether you're looking for a single t-shirt or thousands of pieces for your band, business, or event, or even podcast, they will handle it all at fantastic prices. And then here's an added bonus. If you're a local Winnipeg band, you will get another 10% off from your order. If you're looking for quality, speed, and great service, contact Stoke Screen Printing today and stay stoked.
From their humble roots in kitchens and music venues all over Winnipeg, the creators of Intergalactic Sauces have turned their passion project into a line of must-have condiments for flavor and heat lovers everywhere. Getting their start selling tacos to hungry concert-goers at local underground music festivals, the Intergalactic crew has stayed true to its DIY rock and roll aesthetic. Every delicious bottle is a carefully designed collaboration with indie designers, printers, and a bit of inspiration from the cosmos. Whether it's a limited run or one of Intergalactic's core flavors, whether you want to add a bit of zip to a meal or blow your head off with heat, there's a sauce for everyone. Go to intergalacticsauces.com and get your sauce today.
I want to talk to you about a few things. So, Tommy and I's relationship has been a number of years now, for sure.
Pretty much, yeah.
And I've
just before
seen,
COVID,
and
yeah.
I don't know, I was just telling him outside, I don't know necessarily what his struggles were like before I was part of his life, but I know from when I was. So he talked about COVID being really hard for him, and like I've witnessed him go through some really hard times in the last 5 years, let's call it. And I think like you as his teammate and his life partner and his wife and all these things, like that's probably had an effect on you. So I guess when he first started, so let's go back to COVID, when like you got pretty low for a bit there. Ooh. Like you have talked previously on this show about not being the father you wanted to be, not being the husband you wanted to be. And I think you've survived that and come out of that. But like, what was your experience through that? And was that something new to you that was at a more significant, seeing him go through a more significant low than you had before?
Yeah, I think I had seen him maybe low before, but then he would bounce right back. But he didn't at that point. I think the best word was just feeling lonely. But not being alone, right? Because if I was alone, then I could, like, there was a justifiable reason for me to feel lonely. But to be in a house full of people and to have a husband and everything but still feel alone, I think that was, and still is, when if it's ever low, that's kind of the hardest thing, is feeling like I don't have that partner. And I'm the one who's keeping everything going. And I told Tommy this once, and I appreciate when he says that I'm important to the family and I'm the glue to the family, but I've tried to use that analogy when I didn't know what else to do. I'm like, but this glue has now dried out, and like I don't want, like, I don't want to always have that role. And why am I the only one who has that role? So those are the kind of things, I guess I start being resentful. because I would feel like I was missing out on what I want to do, and my time wasn't seen valuable because I was picking up the pieces that somebody else wasn't, and trying to provide stability in the house for my kids because Tommy couldn't, right? So yeah, feeling lonely, and then starting to feel like resentful of what he's doing because, hey, why don't I get to enjoy life and have fun with friends in my way that I like to have fun with? But why am I the one who's at home, who's looking after to make sure that everything is being maintained and to keep going, right, for the whole family?
So okay, so just not supported, like,
yeah.
And you're right, like, I think I could do this. I think Rachel probably would echo that statement. Maybe we'll find out in a couple weeks, but yeah, like, I'm a very social person, and on top of that, if I'm low, like, I'm fucking useless, and like, she carries the weight, and I would say she carries the weight more often than I do, and for our family, for the dog, my daughter, our daughter, like, everybody. And I think it's a mom thing. Like, when it really comes down to it, moms just have a bigger role with kids than dads ever do. Or a very different role. Yeah. Maybe is a better way to put it.
I grew up in a household where, like, my mom literally does everything.
Well, and so did I. Like, my mom didn't work.
Yeah.
And so you also work. And so add that on top of, so now you've got to go to work and you're having to carry the whole weight of the home. Like, that couldn't have been easy. And so how did you address that with him to get to where we are today?
She just told me I had enough. I can't be doing this, right? And again, going through the counseling and everything, that's when I had to learn how to listen to her, what she's actually saying. Not just saying, hey, I had enough. I'm like, okay, well, fucking go then. You know, I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
And so...
Would that historically have tended to be your reaction?
Yeah, like, I think I would just, I used to, like, blow up and just, like, oh, fuck, like, what do you want me to do? Like, fuck it, I'm leaving, you know, and I just leave.
And then I would have to be there despite me saying I've had enough, but he's gone.
Then you're stuck with it again.
Here we go again, right?
And I guess me realizing that it was an absolute shitty thing to do on my behalf to, you know, like, I'm out clearing my head while she's pissed off at home, and now we still have the kids, like, need food or whatever, you know, and, like, I would just leave her. And
well, and is the support, because you were low, you were down, you were like, you were depressed, like, you weren't good, you weren't healthy.
Yeah, and I did not believe in depression.
Yeah.
And she was the one, like, you're depressed. I'm like, get the fuck out of the way. You know, like, hey, come on.
You've changed.
And then it's like, holy shit, yeah, no, you're right. And
well, and
was
what was
a
that
realization for me.
What was that like for you, seeing the love of your life go through that and, like, have to experience that? Meanwhile, you're feeling angry and lonely and resentful.
That was the hardest part, being like, man, like, if this was a client or a person that I was working with, I would know how to react to it, right? Because I'm not personally
invested.
Yes. But being in it, like seeing him go through this, it kind of depended on where I was too. Sometimes I'd be like, well, I'm depressed too, so why do you again get to then take the time for yourself, right? So I think a lot of it depended on my time, like my mood. How was I feeling? And, you know, I did tell Tommy, like, I've had enough, or he mentioned that I would say that, but I've said that several times. And I even told him, I said, I'm starting to feel stupid, and I don't I don't like feeling like a stupid person, because I've already told you several times, this is it, this is the last time, or whatever kind of a thing, like, I've had enough. And here we are again. What's helping is that those I've had enough are becoming less frequent for me, or he's much quicker to react, being like, oh yeah, okay, and then he kind of does something again. I'm like, okay, you heard me, and yes, it's not going to go perfectly, but I've been seeing progress. Like, I'm not feeling those lows and that resentment as long or as often, because then he steps it up. But it was hard supporting him, I think, just like anybody else. Like, honestly, I always knew about mental health and I believed in it. But living with somebody with mental health issues that aren't resolved like that, right? in a
It's
minute.
different, yeah.
It's hard. And it's another like kind of responsibility, right? Like, okay, like
Again, you're picking up the pieces.
I'm picking up
and-
the pieces while
Yeah.
he's healing, which is really important because without him healing, nothing's going to get better.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I have to look after myself. So I think I'm very grateful that this happened when we didn't have little kids, when our kids are more self-sufficient. And I do a lot of walking. I do, like, again, that fills my bucket, and I do that with one friend, right? Because I don't want to be surrounded by a lot of people. And so I walk outside.
You can give her a shout out. I'm sure she's going to listen to this episode.
Celeste is my usual walking
Yeah.
partner, and then Annetta, if I
Yeah.
get together with her, she's a great person to talk to. So kind of being able to talk to somebody, but it's also nice that they know Tommy, because I don't talk about him in a really mean way. I'm trying to just be like, I'm struggling with this, but
Yeah.
I've never wanted to talk shit about Tommy.
You don't disrespect him.
I've
No,
never
no,
ever
no,
wanted to do
no.
that, and I don't do that with my mom either. Like, she sometimes asks me what's wrong, like whatever, but I was like, no, this is my relationship. Like, I don't, and even like our friends, right? Then we camp with them. I don't want to be shitting on Tommy, and then their perception of him is gonna change,
Yeah.
right? So no, it's just, and I think it's also good because my friends are also in long-term marriages,
Yeah.
which means they understand. Every one of us has gone through something like this, so
Yeah, you need the opportunity to vent.
Yeah.
Like, venting
Yeah.
is not disrespect.
no,
It's
yeah.
important. Like, you'd rather vent to your friend than blow up on that person.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not, that
Yeah.
does nobody any
Yeah.
good.
But I think it's very important for me to do what I need to do, which means that, like, you know, going to bed, watching a show that makes me laugh or cry, whatever I need,
Yeah.
reading books, like, it's the things that I have to remember to look after myself, right? Going into the hot tub for 20 minutes just so that I just clear my head.
Yeah.
And so are you getting better at making space for her to do that? Or no, I don't even need to fucking ask you.
Ask her, yeah.
Is he
Ask her,
is
yeah.
he making appropriate space for you to do that?
Yes.
Or making an effort to do so?
Yes. My fear is when he goes back to work,
Yeah.
because
So currently, right now, I'm off work. On
it's
stress
much
leave.
needed to,
Yeah, and it was, again,
yeah.
things were piling up. I wasn't, I was hitting lower and lower spots, and it was, I think the last couple of years have been, sorry to just kind of cut you off, but like the last couple of years have been kind of tough. Started my business a little bit, and then I was busy at my work with my union stuff, and had some traveling, and then it was just a lot piling up. And it was, I remember there was like, we just got to get through June. And then we just got to get through July. And it was just like, we were always pushing it further. And finally, like, I hit the bottom again, and like, it was just a lot. And that's when I know that you were also struggling, because you saw me struggling, but so you were picking up the pieces after me. And now that I've been off, it's like, okay, finally, like, I remember the first week I was off work, I cooked a meal, and I was so happy that I could do that for you guys, because you could come home from work and not worry about, like, oh, is there food? Do I need to cook? And then it happened, and then again, like, it was like this, a roller coaster, like, now 2-3 days again, nothing, and then, I felt great. And so it's I'm scared too, going back to work.
Yeah.
I think it's time for me to go to back to work, just to see, like,
Yep.
is this something I can manage going to work and continue doing the good things that are happening in our lives now. So, I mean, it makes me super happy to see her come home and smile, instead of like,
Just look at the load of
yeah,
everything she has to do to serve everybody else all night.
yeah,
Well, I think that's where it gets tough, because it's not, I think you guys were, and me too, I speak for all of us maybe, but like, we were all raised in a traditional kind of nuclear family atmosphere where like my mom stayed home, she didn't work until we were all way older. But like, now I work, Rachel works, and you work and he works, like, and we kind of have to, like,
Yep.
the world's just different. And so without both of us working, we couldn't afford to have a life.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, but there's still this, like, for me, and I'll just speak personally, but there's still this sense of like, well, mom takes care of the home and the kid, and like I do the working and the thing like that. But it's also like, oh no, she's working too, and I have to get my brain around that. Where it's like, I understand how that works if like I'm the provider and she's the provider of all those other things, because that's a job. But it's like, oh, we're both working, but I still have this thing in my head where like, no, that's your job. And like, well, then what the fuck's my job? Because you're doing the same thing as me. And so like, we struggle with that, and we'll probably unpack that on the show when she's on here. But do you like, is that part of, does that resonate with you guys too?
I think so. It's I like, Adriana is, we talked about our shared calendars and stuff, but like
we always talk about our
but
I don't have one, but
I love.
He wasn't on the schedule today. Why are we doing this today?
You didn't mark this in the fucking calendar after everything we talked about yesterday?
This decision was made just last night. No, but it's one of those things that, like, with the calendars, I like seeing that what activities we have, because we can kind of plan ahead a little bit for certain things. And these past 2 weeks, I'm really trying to figure out, like, you know, a couple days it was like, well, what are we going to cook tomorrow? You know, like, we need some food, right? And it's like, oh shit, okay, like, will we have the time to do it? And so it's really hard to manage for me to, like, be thinking about, like, what needs to be done. Whereas, like, it seems like to you, it's like, it's almost automatic.
Well, she's been doing it for so long.
Well, that's right? The thing. Like, and I know, because again, you're a more spontaneous person than me, and routine is sometimes boring. But like, routine simplifies your life so that you have time for that spontaneity, right? Yeah. So that is a big struggle too. Is like. And I think because Tommy likes to kind of try this one day or 1 year, and then another year he's on to something else. Like, you have a lot of different things that interest you, and then you kind of lose interest in them, or find the new shiny object that is a little bit more interesting.
For sure, yeah.
So because we don't necessarily get into a routine very easily, then that's, I think, where we don't plan enough, right? And yes, I'm also a planner, right? But I just find, because then we don't have to think about that. Our brain cells don't have to be occupied by just thinking of the things that actually have to be done. And then we have, all of a sudden, oh, wait a minute, we have 4 hours that we don't have anything scheduled. Like, let's do something then fun then. And when we're playing catch up always, right? Then then you just get overwhelmed for no reason.
And like for you, but for you also, like, I think the planning is easier because you have to plan everything at work too. So like you've been in that world for now 20 years, right? Whereas like for me, like work wise, it's like, oh, I go to work. Okay, this is what I'm working on today. Great, you know, like it's never.
I would also submit that the planning for her is important, because there's 45 things she thinks about when that happens
100%.
that you don't.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And she thinks about all the domino effect of all the plans and the things. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
100%.
But like,
ding, ding, ding.
That's what moms can do that we cannot.
Well, and
like, we just aren't wired that way.
100%.
That's fair.
And there's few things that I kind of took over that. Because I know that, she's always thinking about everything. I don't know how she does that, but she's doing it.
It's mom stuff, man. They're fucking different people.
In order to me, like, you know, like
they're fucking superheroes.
They are. They're so that's why when she gets mad, I give her a cape so she's super mad. I'm just kidding. I've never done that.
Not an original joke either, Tommy.
No, it's
I like that joke.
It's a great one.
Also, I want to meet the guy who's done it.
I don't know if he's alive.
Dead. Oh, he's dead.
He's for sure dead.
No, but like, so like the credit card bills, you know, I kind of took over that, and like, you know, one time I actually missed it and totally forgot it. I'm like, gosh, I'm looking at my next statement. I'm like, why is there a charge? You know, like interest. I'm like, son of a bitch.
That's not being helpful. For the record.
No, it's not. But you know, it's like, you learn. If you learn from a mistake, then it's okay. And so, like, you know, now that's on me, and I really want to do good so she doesn't have to think about it, and hopefully pick up more of that slack going forward. That
or just share more of the load. I don't think it's picking up the slack. I think it's sharing the load.
Oh,
Just sharing the load, because like
it is.
You know, Autumn has volleyball as far as it feels like 12 days a week.
Yeah.
And like I do the driving.
Yeah.
So if it's like stuff outside of the house, I tend to do all that.
Yeah.
That's once Rachel's home, she wants to be home.
Yeah.
And so like she takes a lot of responsibility for the house.
Yep.
And probably also because I don't help enough, which we'll find out in a couple weeks. But also because like I'm happy to get in the car and go somewhere or drive her somewhere, and
Yeah.
I'll go do this while it's gone. Oh, the car needs wipers anyways. I'll go.
Yeah.
I'll drop her off at the thing. I'll go do the other thing. I'll
Yeah.
gas it up. Like I do a lot. Anything outside the house, except grocery shopping. She does that.
Yeah.
She won't let me do it. We're going to argue about
I
that
can
next
see
week.
that. Okay,
She'll
okay.
say it's different, but it's true. And I get to say it now because I have a microphone. But but like I do the outside of the house stuff, and like to her that is actually a big for her energy levels and for her social battery. Like for her to take her to a volleyball practice is very different. It has a very different effect than it does if I take her.
Yeah.
If I take her, I drop her off, I might stay, I might go for a drink in between, I might go home and do like I can just kind of flow through that. Whereas for her, it feels different. I think for her, leaving the house for 20 minutes feels like 2 hours worth of energy. Whereas
Yeah.
for me, it's nothing.
Yeah.
And so like we found those things that like I'm stronger to do that supports her, that make the most difference to her. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally. And
Do you
it's-
guys kind of have
yeah,
that?
like where your talents lie too, right? Like that's why I kind of bug him about food always, because he's the cook in the family. He cooks
Yeah.
better. And I have to think really hard, like other than making spaghetti and one chicken dish, like there's nothing else I know how to make, right? And none of my food tastes just as good as Tommy's. So that's why, yeah, I'm like, that's something you're interested in, you like doing, and I'm pretty good at organizing, but yeah, separating those or like finding what each of us likes to do better, I guess. Like a pet peeve for me is when he says like, oh, I'm trying to help or something. I hate that word help because I'm like, it's
Yeah,
not a help.
it's-
You're not an assistant. You're not a hired help here or whatever.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
yeah.
a help.
It's your job.
We're supposed
It's
to be
my job,
working
yeah.
together,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
I hate that. Like, yeah. And I try to catch myself also saying like, I don't want to say you're not helping me. No, it's like you're not doing your
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
Help assumes that it's all your responsibility, and like I don't think that's fair.
Yeah.
And like Rachel say the same thing.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, for sure, yeah.
But like social things, definitely I like it better when Tommy goes. Like anytime there's like whatever little, even the taekwondo little party, and I'm like, oh man, everybody speaks French. He doesn't, I do, but I'm like, man, that's socializing. You go do it, not me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And again, like I'll make friends with the couch, you know. if
Yeah,
I have
you,
to.
yeah.
So like,
You and me are the same that
And
way.
he's very good too, like the kids, and they have different relationships in every family with each parent, right? So Tommy can be a little bit more, no, I don't want to say strict, but more direct with the kids. So when Gabby has to go, for example, like if our daughter has to go for like a blood test or something like that, or even driving, Tommy's the person, and she even knows. She's like, I won't shed a tear when I'm going for a blood test with dad, right? Like,
Yeah.
or she'll be more focused in the car or whatever, right? Because we just have different relationships
Yeah.
together, right? The kids come more to me for that nurturing, which again is kind of just biology, right?
That's
just
biology
the way
and
it
that's
is.
mom stuff. Like it
That's
just
just the
totally
way it is,
is.
yeah.
100%.
And then Tommy is the fun one, right? Like he's the one who'll take our daughter again to speed roll to race around on cars, and I'll
Yeah.
be like, okay, well I can use that. I would rather stay home and clean and do laundry at that point. You go
Yeah.
and have fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I try to, you know, like the football thing now with my son. That's our thing. Like, I mean, I'm the coach too, but like, I love doing that. We have fun, you know, together. And then he comes to the spongy games with me. I take him to hockey
Yeah.
with me, and I know that gives at least then time to you and our daughter to sit down and maybe, you know, have a little girl time or whatever. Like, I know. My daughter mentioned it's like, oh yeah, if you take Jacob to hockey, then I'll just have some time with mom. And like she was excited about it, and I know that is great for you if you have the time to give her that time. So you know, now again, in the last 2 months I've been home, I've been trying to, you know, she would call me like, hey, can I stay longer? Can you take her to gymnastics? Can you? So I try to always be like, yes, I have nothing else to do right now. Absolutely. Like if it gives you a little bit of like more time to do work, and then you don't have to do it at home, and gives us more time. So I'm really trying to focus on like, how can we not how I can help, but how can we
Good catch.
yeah, right.
That's a hard habit to break.
It is, but
Yeah, for sure.
like how can we even out the duties that we have, so we can actually, when we're together, we can have some quality time. Even
Yeah.
it could be 20 minutes that we sit down and play a card game or something, but like, or go for a walk or something like that, that it actually gives both of us pleasure. And
Well, and that's what prevents the roommate thing.
exactly,
Like
yeah.
if you don't do that, you
Yeah.
just become fucking roommates.
If I start pulling my weight a little more and more, and then we'll even things out, then it's going to become easier, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, and
That's what I was
and like Adriana said, the challenge will be when you go back to work.
yeah,
But yeah, when you asked the question a little while ago about like how do I deal with those times when I have to do more because he's struggling or whatever, it's those minutes or those moments. I don't need tons, and I'm like a pretty simple person. I think I don't need I don't need anything extravagant. I don't want anything like that. But like you said, 15 minutes together, like actual connection, right? And then I'm good. Then it like again that fills my battery. Okay, then I can keep going because and it's also because I feel seen. It's like, oh, you understand. This is what I need. So
Yeah.
you might need 3 hours out with buddies, but I need those 20 really solid
Yeah.
quality
Yeah.
minutes, and then we're good.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So I guess in closing, I wanted to ask one question. You guys have been together for 20 years. You're still together. You still fucking love each other, which is great. I hope my relationship is where yours is at 15 years from now. I really do. What do you feel like you guys have mastered? Because you've mastered something because you're still together. In a world where most people actually give up. Like the percentages are true.
Yeah.
Most people give up.
yeah.
What do you feel like you've mastered individually or together?
Phew. Fuck you. I don't know if we've mastered anything, to be honest, because we don't. You can't just master one thing and now we're doing it. Like I think it's a constant evolvement for us to we always try to do better, I think. And I think what we're really good at, well, I mean, first of all, Adriana is an amazing mom. Like she's I don't know how I would parent without her, you know. Fuck, I'm getting a little more emotional here, but no, it's I love her, that like she is just not giving up no matter how tired she is. Like she's just there for us as a family, and I love that she gives me the space when I need it. And I learned to love her again more and more. Sorry.
That's okay.
Aw.
You?
I agree with Tommy. We haven't actually mastered any of those issues that we have. But I think what we've mastered is perseverance, sticking with it.
Yeah.
And knowing that like when we're in a pit, it's like, oh, wait a minute, we're going to get out again, right? And I think it gives me hope because every time we're in a pit, right, you know, over the last 20 years, it seems like that pit's not as deep. It's easier to climb out of it. So yeah, that's sticking with it and being like, wait a minute, like, let's not expect things to be perfect. They can't be. Like, that's just an illusion, right? Somebody that you see with a perfect relationship, like, there's no such thing as a perfect relationship.
No.
So
Yeah.
sticking with it, persevering.
Yeah, no, I and you know what, I remember like when we talked about divorce, and it was a very like civil conversation. Like, well, should we just like separate and see what's up? And my thing was like, no, like I didn't get married to you. It's so easy to get divorced.
Yeah.
Like so many people just get divorced and like, you know, like not even put in the fight. I said, let's try everything we can to save this marriage. And if we try everything to our best ability and we still can't, then we will separate.
Yep.
We'll move on
Yep.
with our lives. We'll
Yeah.
make sure that we focus on our kids,
Yep.
be good co-parents. And I'm so happy we did the therapy. And if anybody's listening, if you're ever going through like marriage issues, try the counseling, man. They're freaking amazing. Like they do a good job, and you know, talk to each other. That's the main thing, like communication. So,
Okay. Well,
wow.
there we are.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks.
So when do I get to talk about what an asshole he is?
Now, anything you want to say, fucking
Just
go
kidding.
for it.
She swore.
He is a fucking asshole. It's fine. Everybody knows it. Even the listeners know. It's fine.
Man, thank
I'm
you.
just kidding.
No, thank you for sharing that,
appreciate
both of you guys. I guess I'm in the hot seat next time, so
Oh, so I gotta get ready.
that'll be
Holy
good.
fuck, okay.
Yeah, and you got time to prep this time.
Ooh, good.
No, it'll be good. It's so interesting. Like, I find just listening to the story and the way, and I've been a part of your lives for a long time, but like, I can draw so many parallels with my marriage and like the struggles we have and the things we go through and like the mom stuff and the dad. Like, there's just so many parallels between those, and I think it's because personalities are very similar.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting. I'm very interested to do my
Yeah, it'll be
my
fun.
episode of
Yeah.
this. So thanks everyone for listening. Follow us on Instagram,
All that. Yeah.
YouTube, all
Yeah.
that stuff. Yeah. And thank you for being here
Thank you.
and sharing.
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Quiet Riot Show. We want to give a big shout out to our sponsors for making this show possible. And of course, thank you, our amazing listeners, for your support. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We're at Quiet Riot Show on all platforms. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can watch full episodes of the podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please rate and review us wherever you're listening. It really helps us grow and reach more listeners like you. We'd also love to hear from you. Have questions, suggestions, or thoughts about the show? Drop us an email at quietriotshow@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time on The Quiet Riot Show.